Good evening to everyone. So now we'll start our session. So today's session is all about a workshop on PHP. So what are the things we are going to see is that we are going to see basic functionalities of PHP and how they are different from other languages. So we are going to look into basics of PHP today. So before getting into our workshop, let me just give an introduction on myself. And my name is Ashok Raj. So I have almost about 10 years experience with 6 years completely on PHP as a software developer and designer. So currently now I am running my own concern called the King Phoenix. So in our concern, we majorly develop web applications and is software as a service solutions we are providing. So let us get into our today's content. So today we are going to see first we are going to see about development tools. So development tools means what are the tools we will be needing to develop PHP application in your own desktop or laptop. So after seeing the development tools, we will be getting into basic structure of a PHP program like a Hello World program. Then after that we will see how data and variable are handled in PHP because no languages can be done without data and variable, and the most predominant and basic function of any language is its condition and looping statements, and that will be covered. Then after that we will be going for PHP with HTML and PHP with MySQL. The reason for going with HTML is that PHP is a web development language and PHP is a server-side program. So we need to understand how a server-side program will be working alongside with a HTML. Then we also have PHP with MySQL because while handling data we need to store the data permanently somewhere so that we can retrieve it later, so that we are going to use a database and that database is going to be PHP, and we will be seeing how we are going to have a PHP program handling all SQL queries. And at the end of the session we will also cover the learning curve for PHP. That is, if you are willing to learn PHP, what are the steps we need to consider and what are the sections you need to learn. So let us start with our development tools. So development tools are nothing but simple softwares which can aid us in developing a PHP web application. So the foremost basic tool we require is the editor. So editor is nothing but a content manager that where we are going to write our source code. For example, even your MS Word is also kind of a editor. So like that, whichever application can accept your PHP source code can be used as the editor in PHP. So the most commonly used editor in PHP is Notepad++ because it is very lightweight and it does not since it is lightweight, it does not consume more memory for your RAM. So it looks very smooth and simple. And other editors which are available in market are Eclipse, Adobe Dreamweaver, Komodo, and even NetBeans also has a PHP plugin in it. So there are n number of things. So the most prominent and lightweight is Notepad++. So that is what we are going to use in today's session. And next we are going to look into servers. Since we are going to develop something, some application related to server, because we are going to develop a web application. So a web application usually depends upon two different parts. One is a web server, another one is a database server. Because only a web server can handle web-based scripts. That is, it can be a PHP or JSP, whatever it is. So we need a web server. Since we are going to store a data and database, we will be needing a database server. So we are going to have two different types of server applications here. One is called WAMP and another one is called XAMPP. So let me just give a brief introduction on both of them and their differences. So XAMPP is exclusively available for Windows only. So WAMP can be installed only on Windows. So along with the WAMP, we will be getting a web server, which is the Apache server, and also we'll be getting a MySQL database server and support for PHP. So that is how the WAMP name has been derived. They have just taken the first letter of each word from Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. They have come up with a word called WAMP. So WAMP is exclusively for Windows. And there is another version called XAMPP. So XAMPP is a multi-platform supported system. It can be used on Linux, Windows, and as well as Mac. That is why we call it as X, that is extended. And it also has a web server of Apache, and database server is same MySQL server. And XAMPP supports Perl modules also along with PHP modules. So XAMPP is an advanced one. But in our workshop, we are going to use a WAMP server and a Notepad++. So along with it, we also require some other developmental tools. That is, we'll be needing a browser so that we can check our outputs. Because since we are going to develop a web application, we can test our application only on your browser. So we'll be needing a browser. So I'm going to use Google Chrome for it. And there is another topic we need to understand before getting into the workshop, and that is called Friends of PHP application, and its part is on server side. So your PHP coding will be residing on the server, and it will connect to database and it will do the operations. So along with PHP, we need some other tools also to develop a web application. Your PHP cannot be used all alone to create a web application. It needs support from others. And what are the support are? Basically, we need database support to store your data, and also we need to design the web application because PHP does not involve in designing. It is on developmental side. So we need a designing part, and designing will be handled by HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So these are all the basic things we need other than PHP to develop a full-fledged PHP application. Then later we have something called bundles, or we can also call it as frameworks. So jQuery, Ajax are nothing but frameworks of JavaScript. Whatever possible in JavaScript, it is also possible in jQuery and Ajax, and vice versa. The thing is that in jQuery, it has been made simplified so that we no need to write many number of codes as we do it on JavaScript. jQuery framework already have its own inbuilt functions to perform basic operations, so it will be easy to use jQuery than to use JavaScript. In the same way, Bootstrap is nothing but a CSS framework. So CSS is mainly used to design your view part. Bootstrap is nothing but a framework which is already having a inbuilt view structure. So in CSS, if you are going to write some 100 design codes, it can be done by single class or calling multiple classes same time using Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a framework which supports quick designing of your website. So we will be requiring all these tools alongside of PHP to complete our web application. So now let us get into our actual developmental part of workshop. So I would like to share my own folder so that I will show you how a WAMP is being getting installed. So currently what you are seeing is my folder structure. So here I have already installed a WAMP server in my system. So once you installed your WAMP server, you'll be getting a WAMP folder. So inside WAMP folder, you'll be having many other subfolders. So let me show you some important folders in it. So first, you will have a folder called bin. So bin is nothing but it is a binary folder. So inside this binary, you'll be having all your WAMP applications. So your WAMP is been installed on Windows and it has a inbuilt web server called Apache. So this is the web server actually which is going to run in our system. And there is the another folder which is going to act as a database server, and that is nothing but a lightweight MySQL. And another thing, we are going to have PHP functions. So this is going to handle your PHP. So your WAMP comes by default with all these three applications. So curl is nothing here additional functionality which I have installed it additionally other than WAMP. So curl does not is available along with WAMP. So these are the folders which are available with WAMP. So Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So now you can get the spelling of WAMP here, AMP. So W standing for Windows, on which the application is currently installed. And then you'll be having another folder called www, and this is the exact web server folder. So if you want to create any web application, you need to actually create it inside this folder. So all your web application related files must be residing here. So here I have created some web applications, so everything will be available in www. So how we are going to access it from the browser? So that is the next step we are going to show you. So here we are going to use our Chrome browser to test all our web applications. So how we will be testing our web application is that since all my servers are residing in my own laptop, I will be accessing it using localhost. So localhost is nothing but a naming of your local IP address, that is your own host IP address. So you can also give it as 127.0.0.1. So also you can give it as localhost. Since I am running multiple servers in my system, I have given an explicit port number of 8080. So usually your web applications will be running on port number 80. So I have just altered it for my own personal reasons. So after giving localhost and slash, you need to just give your naming functions. So since you give your name of the folder, that particular application will be opened. So once you give your folder name, that particular application will be accessed by your Apache server, and that is what is getting loaded on your Chrome. And that's how we will be getting our application. So now let us get into basic application development. That means we are going to see how a PHP program structure will be looking into. So now I have a Notepad++ and I have an empty file in it. So let us start creating our first PHP application. So whenever we start our PHP coding, all your PHP coding must be residing inside a special tag called PHP tag. So whenever you write your PHP coding, it must be given inside this PHP tag. So this is a start tag and this is a end tag. So all your code is going to reside within this particular part. So now just let us give a simple command called echo. So echo is nothing but a print command in PHP. So echo is nothing but a print command in PHP. So whatever given inside this double quotes will be printed on your browser. So let us try how it is getting printed. So I have just typed echo statement and I have given some content to it. So now let us save the file. So I'm going to save the file within www so that I'll be able to access it on the browser via my Apache server. So in www, I'm just creating a new folder. I'm just naming it as workshop. So I named the server, named my folder as WS. So inside that, we are just going to save our file. Now let us try to execute this particular file in our browser. So we will be just getting our echo statements printed here. So echo statement is nothing but a print statement. So whatever given within your double quotes, that will be printed in your browser. So now you can get a doubt that from where this end tag is coming. So this command tag has been given outside the PHP code. So that is why it has been printed. If you have given this comment inside the PHP tag, that will be considered as a comment. So now let us see how variables are getting handled in our PHP, because variables are very important in any programming language, because variables are the one which are exactly handling the data. So why we need a variable in any programming language is that your system cannot actually read your data from the memory without any reference. You need to have a reference to your data. So variables are nothing but reference to your data. So now let us see how data and variables are handled in our PHP. So I hope everyone has a basic understanding on C language. So just let me give a small message from C. So whenever you declare a variable in C language, what you will do, you will first say what is the data type of the data you are going to handle, whether it is going to be integer or float or character or whatever it is, so that your compiler can create memory space according to your data type. So that is what most programming languages will be doing. But in PHP, we do not have anything called data types at all. We directly declare variable and assign values to it. We do not have anything like data types. So every data type are internally handled by PHP. It is not required that the developer needs to mention the data type. So now let us store three types of data. So we are going to store a integer, we are going to store a string, also we are going to store a double or a float or a decimal point value. So let us see how we are going to store. So first let me store my own name in a variable. So this is how we are going to declare a variable and a data. There is nothing we have mentioned about the data type. So I have declared an integer. Integer is also declared in the same way. The only difference is that whenever you're going to have a string or a character, it is going to be given inside double quotes. If it is going to be number, it may be a whole number or a decimal number. It does not require any double quotes. You can just directly give it. So this is how we can declare our data and variable. So in PHP, all data types are internally handled by PHP itself. So while developing, the developer doesn't need to give the data type. So it will be very simple. You can just go ahead, declare your own variables and provide the data for it. So now let us see here how basic addition or arithmetic operation happens in PHP. So arithmetic operations are exactly as same as we are going to have it in our C programming. So now let us declare two numbers, number 1 and number 2. So whenever you are going to add it or you need to print this particular result, you can have two different options. First option is that you can have a third variable and you can add the numbers. So your third variable now will be having your result. So in throughout this variable structure, only one special character will be constant, and that character is nothing but this dollar. So this dollar is nothing but it is a symbol which indicates that this is a variable name. So whenever you are going to use a variable, it should be preceded by a dollar symbol. Not only during declaration or definition, even while using this dollar symbol must be preceded. Without this dollar symbol, it cannot be considered as a variable. If I remove my dollar symbol here, then PHP will throw a error. So whenever you're going to mention a variable, it must be a dollar symbol preceded value. Now let us print this number 3. Addition is number 3. So this is how I am printing it. So here you can see that I have used the dot symbol. So this dot symbol is nothing but it is a concatenator. Now in this echo statement, I need to print a standard string as well as I need to print a variable. So what I'm going to give is I'm going to give my standard string in double quotes inside your double quote, and I'm concatenating my variable along with it. To concatenate, I am using this dollar symbol. So now let us see how this particular output is being viewed on our browser. So no, your notepad will not save the coding automatically. So every time you type, please use Control S and save your functions. So now you are viewing my Chrome. So we'll just refresh it so that we can get our updated result. So now we have our result. Welcome to MJIT addition 150. Even though we have given two echo statements, everything is printed in the same line. So now let us see why it is being printed like that and what is that we need to do if you need both the results on different lines. So let us see that. So before seeing that, I will also like to explain how a browser exactly works so that it will be very easy for you to understand the solution for it. Your browser actually can read only three different basic languages. It can read your HTML, it can read your JavaScript, it can read your CSS. This is what your browser can do actually. So how a PHP is being getting executed on your browser. Actually, your PHP is not even executed on your browser. Your PHP is actually executed on your Apache server. After execution, the result is converted as a HTML and that HTML output is being parsed on the browser. So your PHP is not getting executed on the browser. Your PHP is executed on the Apache server and the output is converted as a HTML and given to your browser. So your browser is just reading your HTML. So now let us see how we are going to split this into two different lines. So so what we are going to do is we are having two different echo statements. One is on line number 3 and one is on line number 13. So PHP does just exactly prints whatever we are giving. So this complete code is being converted into your HTML output. So whatever result we get from this code, it is been converted into a HTML and been printed on the browser. So now I'm just going to add a simple HTML tag along with this echo. I am going to add a break tag. This tag is related to HTML. So in HTML, whenever we want to give a new line, we use this particular tag. So I am giving the same tag in my PHP echo statement. So now let us see what happens. And I have saved my code. Now just let us go back to our browser. So now you can see we are getting it on two different lines. So in Chrome, there is an option called inspect. So using inspect, we can check the HTML code which is being used to get this particular output. So let us open inspect and see how we are getting this on two different lines when we add a BR tag to it. So this is an inspect tag. See, all your HTML output are already converted into basic HTML. Sorry, all your PHP output are converted into basic HTML. So we have never given head tag, HTML tag, or whatever it is, but all the tags are available here. And your output, you have given a BR tag, and that is what we are viewing here. So since we have given a BR tag in the first statement itself, we got a empty line in the first. Then we have having your welcome to MJIT. Then we have given our next BR. So your cursor would have went to the next line. Then it has printed addition. So this is how your PHP output is being passed in your browser. It is not only in the case of your HTML, so not only in the case of your Chrome, whatever browser you are using, it works the same way. So your PHP outputs are converted into HTML, and that HTML is being parsed on your browser. Now let us get back to our source code. So in our source code, we are going to just add some more HTML to it. Not only BR tag, we can add any HTML tag to it. Now let us add a heading tag. I'm just adding heading H1. So this is also will be available to your browser as a normal HTML tag. So now let us see how this H1 tag is been displayed on your browser. See the welcome to NJIT echo statement will be converted into a H1 tag because we have fed your HTML tag along with the echo statement. So this is how a PHP code will be passed as a HTML into your browser. Okay, this is what we are having in our PHP data variable management and its output statement management. Now let us see how condition statements works in PHP. So condition statements means it is nothing but your normal if loops. So how your if loops are working in your PHP. So let us see those things now. So before getting into our condition statements, I will also like to add a additional point in echo statement, how we can simplify our echo statement. So now what we have done here is in line number 12, we have just added number 2 and 1 and saved it on number 3. It is not mandatory we need to do like this. We can directly have the addition in our echo statement itself. So this is also possible. This is also is fine. So you don't need having a resultant variable. You can directly do the operations in your echo statement also. So this is also possible with your PHP. So now let us get back into our condition statements. So basically, what are condition statements? So condition statements are nothing but set of instructions which are need to be executed only when certain condition is met. That is what we call as condition statements. For a real-time example, let us take our progress card in our school or in our college. Whenever your student is getting marks above certain percentage, let us consider 40 is your pass mark. So the condition here is that whenever the student crosses 40 and above, we need to give them a grade. Otherwise, the grade must be F. So the instruction here is handling your grade and your condition is checking your mark. Same way in PHP also, we can give a condition and we can give an instruction. So only when that condition is met, your instruction will be executed. So now let us see a small example of it. So condition statement syntax is nothing but your if loop. So in PHP, your if loop syntax will be almost as same as your if loop in C language. So most syntax of PHP will be similar to C and C++ because the developer has made in such a way PHP development is very simple. What they have done is that they have almost maintained the same syntax from C and C++. So now we are going to have a if statement. So inside if statement, we will be giving our condition, and inside the loop we'll be giving our instructions. So now let us give a very simple condition stating that number 3 must be above 120. So already we have number 1 and number 2, they are 100 and 50. So obviously your number 3 will be 150. So if your number 3 is above 120, what we are doing is that we are going to print a statement. So whenever your number 3 is above 120, we are going to print a statement called happy evening. If your number 3 is not greater than 120, we are going to print it as good afternoon. So this is what we have given. So whatever we have given inside this if bracket, that is called as the condition. And whatever given inside this is called instruction, and this is also a instruction. The difference between if instruction and else instruction is that if your condition is met, that means if your condition is true, the if part will be executed. If your condition is false, your else part will be executed. So only either of the part will be executed. Either your else will be executed or your if will be executed, not the both. Both of them will not be executed. Only one will be executed at a time. So in this case, obviously we know number 3 will become 150. So the condition will be true. So we'll be getting a output called happy evening. So let us see whether we are getting it or not. So we are getting it happy evening. Because your addition value is 150, the condition we are given is just 120. So the condition would have been after. So Now let us reverse the part. Let us make the condition to be something like 200 so that we can get our false statement. So we are getting our else part. So whenever the condition met, your if part will be executed, and whenever your condition met, your else part will be executed. So only either of your loop will be executed here, not the both at any point in time. So now let us see what are all the complex have in our else loop. So we'll get back to our NetBeans and we'll check what are the other syntaxes we have in our else loop. So in else loop, there is no condition that we need to have only one particular condition check. We can have any number of condition check. There is no limitation to it. So if you are going to have more than one condition check, we need a gate called as AND gate or your OR gate. We need to use either of it. So let me explain what is the difference between using AND gate and your OR gate. So whenever I need to check another condition, let us check number 2 also. Number 2 is less than 100. So here I have given two different conditions. So what is the condition we have given here? Number 3 must be greater than 100 and number 2 must be less than 100. That means I have given two different conditions. One condition dealing with number 3 and another condition dealing with number 2. So in between we have a special symbol called AND symbol. We have given two AND symbols. The work of this AND symbol is that it makes PHP to check both the conditions, and when only both the conditions are true, your if part will be executed. So that is what your AND says. Your AND says we need to check both the conditions, and only when both the condition is true, is false, your else part only will be executed. So this is what your AND symbol means. So AND, and whenever you hear a word called AND, there will be opposite, that is. So or we use two pipe symbols, and our statement says that it is not mandatory both must be true. If any one is true, then that is enough for your OR gate. Either your first condition must be true or your second condition must be true. If any one is true, it will execute your if statement. If only both yes statement. So that is what you're working of and OR gate. So and OR gate are just like opposite workers. So one requires both to be true, that is your and your OR will require only either of to be true. So that is what your if else statement working. Now let us include another block in your if statement called as else if. So now let us find which number is greater. That means we are going to have three different variables, and three different variables we are going to greater. So let us doing the addition code. I'm just checking whether number 3 is greater or not. That means number 3 must be greater than number 1, as well as number 3 must be greater than number 2. That means your number 3 is greater. So we are just printing your statement. Number 3 is high. Now let us see whether number 2 is greater or not. Number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3. That means number 2 is high. If both are not high, we are just printing number 1 is high. So now here we have a extra block called number, extra block called else if. So what is this else if and what is the functionality of this else if? So this else if is nothing but a supporting condition checker. So usually when this else if is not present, what your PHP does is that it checks your if part. If it is true, it executes the if part, or it directly goes to your else part. So whenever we add a block called else if, it means we are going to have another set of conditions stating that if this is not going to work, check your else if part. Only when else if is also false, it will go to your else loop. So it is a sequential execution. So first it will check your if loop. If it is true, it will execute your else if execute your if block. Then it will go to your else if. It will check the condition. If they are true, it will execute the else if block. If both are false, only then your else block will be executed. And in PHP, you can have any number of else if. There is no condition stating that you need to have only one else if. You can have any number of else if. If you are going to have multiple else if, your execution starts from your if loop as usual. When if is not meeting the condition, then it will go to the next else if, then the next else if, then the third one. Then only after all the else if are false, it will go for the else loop. So in your if else statement, your if block and else block are only condition to be occurring once. So you should have only one if block and one else block, but your else if block can be appearing any number of times, and PHP will be executing them in a sequential way from top to bottom. So this is how a if else loop will be working. So this is called as if else loop. So this is the conditional statement in PHP. Now let us get into our looping statement. So looping statement are nothing but extensions of your condition statement. Now what exactly happens in this if statement is it checks the condition. If it is true, it executes it for only one time. If this condition is true, the instructions given here are getting executed only one time. That is called condition loop. Now what is looping statement is that looping statement also will have a condition to check. Only when condition is met, the instruction will be executed. But the difference is that in your condition statement, the instruction is executed only once, but in your looping statement, your instruction will be executed n number of times until your condition becomes false. It will be keep on executing. So that is the only difference between condition statement and looping statement. So condition statement is also going to have a condition to be checked. Looping statement is also going to have a condition to be checked. Your condition statement will execute the instructions only once, but your looping statement is going to execute your instructions multiple number of times until the given condition becomes false. So now let us see an example for looping statement also. So to check our looping statement, I am just creating a new file. So just let us save it as loop.php. So in our workshop, we are going to see a looping statement called as while loop. So now I need to print hi, hello for 10 multiple times. So what is the basic thing we do? We just use our echo statement. Hi, how are you? If I need this statement for 10 number of times, what I will do? I will keep on copy pasting it. So this is also easy solution. But now let us consider I want to print hi, hello sorry, hi, how are you, for 1,000 times. We cannot keep on copy pasting it. Your lines of code will be extending. You'll be wasting your time pasting the same code again and again. To eradicate this issue, we are going for looping statements. So in looping statement, it is necessary we give our instruction only once. So now let us start our looping statement. So your looping statement starts with a keyword called while. And since we are going to we are going to do the same instruction multiple number of times, we are going to have a counter variable. Let me explain the counter variable after giving the code. So this is what a looping statement. Fine. So now let us see what is a counter variable. So I hope everyone would have some basic understanding about a sport called cricket. So let me just give an example from that particular sport and we can relate to this counter variable. In cricket sport, we'll be having a on-field umpire. Be having two on-field umpire. One umpire will be standing beside the bowler itself. So one of the duty of that particular umpire is that to count how many deliveries has been bowled by that particular bowler because every over will be having only 6 deliveries. So what they will have a ticker in their hand. In earlier stages, they were using stones. So what they will do is that they'll have 6 stones in their hand. Whenever a ball is being delivered, they will put their stone in their pocket. So that now they will have a count how many deliveries are balanced, how many deliveries are full. That stone is called count stones. So the stones are being helpful to find how many deliveries are bowled. In the same way, in our coding also we need a counter to check whether this instruction is being executed only the given number of times. I want this instruction to be executed only 100 times. So I need some other way to count whether it is being done only 100 times or not. To check that, we are going to have a counter variable. So since we need to count till 100, your number system usually starts from 1. That is why your counter is being initialized at 1. And I have given a condition here stating that count is less than 100. So count is less than 100 means it is nothing but it is just a condition as same as we use in our if loop. Only when this condition is true, your while loop will be executed. So what happens? First time it comes in, it will check count is less than 100 or not. Yes, obviously 1 is less than 100. So it will come to your while loop. It will print, hi, how are you? Then what is the next instruction we have? It is called as a counter instruction. Count plus plus is nothing but equal to this. So count equal to count plus 1 is same as count plus plus. There is a small difference, but that is not up to discussion right now. So what happens? Count has been increased by 1. So already count was 1, now count 2. So now let us get into the difference between loop and conditional. We come out of the loop conditional statement. It is a looping statement. Since it is a looping statement, after this count instruction, it will go back to the while once again. And it will check the condition once again. Now count has become 2. 2 is less than 100. Obviously, yes. It will print your echo statement. Counter will become 3 and will keep on doing it until this particular statement becomes false. So when it will become false, only when your counter becomes 100 until 99. 99 is less than 100, so your command will be executed. When it becomes 100, 100 is less than 100. No, 100 is equal to 100. So the condition becomes false and it will be eliminated. And that time your loop becomes false, and only on that time your chain will be broken. So now let us see how this been working on your browser. So now let us get back to our Chrome. So when so now let us just access our loop.php. Now here you can see how our query has been printed on. So now we cannot keep a count how many times it is being printed. So let us add the counter variable also to the echo statement so that we can have a check whether it has been printed properly or not. So whenever the echo is printed, I'm also appending my count variable to it so that I'll be able to understand how many times it has been printed. So now here you can see how many times it is printed. It is printed from 1 till 99 it will be printed. 100 was not printed. The reason is that in condition we have given only less than symbol. If you are given less than symbol on one particular stage, it will be 100 less than 100. Obviously 100 is not less than 100, it is 100 is equal to 100. So your 100 execution will be stopped. If you want to print 100 time also, you need to add less than or equal to. Only in this condition 100 times will be printed. So this is how your while loop works in PHP. So your while loop is going to have three different parts. The first part is the counter variable initialization. So this is very, very important. Without this counter loop will not work. So counter variable initialization is the first part. Next part is the condition check part. And next part is the counter variable incremental part. It is not that it is always need to be 1 to 100. We can also do it in a reverse method also. We can have the counter as 100. We can make it as 1, and so that we can reverse the loop into greater than. In this part, instead of adding counter, we can decrease the counter. So here what happens, it starts from 100, it goes backwards. 100, 99, 98, 97, like that goes backwards. That is why we are doing a decrementer. So when we use plus plus, it is called incrementer. When you use minus minus, it is called decrementer. So this condition is also possible. So now let us get into another looping statement. There is another loop called as for loop. For loop is also as same as your while loop. Only thing is that in your while loop, we are having three different sections on three different lines. In for loop, we are going to have all these three sections in same line. That is inside for bracket itself. So your initialization variable also will be here itself. So this is what your for loop looks like. So for loop also is having same part of your while loop, but thing is that their placement is on same loop. In while loop, your initialization of counter variable is at the first, then condition, then increment or decrement. But in your for loop, they're all given in the same bracket itself. This is what for loop means. And the functionality is similar to one another. There is no difference in functionality, only their syntax is different. So for loop is just a simplified version of your while loop. This also will be producing the same output. So as of now, I'm just commenting the while loop. So this forward slash star and star backward slash is nothing but commenting multiple lines in PHP. So these commented lines will not be executed by your Apache server. So now let us get back to our browser and just check our for loop is working fine or not. Okay, our for loop is not working fine. Let us see why it is done. Because instead of incrementer, I have decrementer, I have given incrementer. So it is become a infinite loop. That means your counter will not reach a condition making it as false. So now let us re-execute it. Sorry, just give me 2 minutes. I got a network glitch in my laptop. Just give me 2 minutes. Oh, okay. Sorry for the delay. So we'll continue our session. We were talking about our for loop. So your for loop is also similar to your while loop. So the only difference is that your for loop is just a simplified version of your while loop. The working function of while as well as your for both are similar to one another. There is no difference in that. In while loop, we are going to have all our three different sections of initialization, condition, and increment or decrement on three different lines. In for loop, we are going to have everything on the same line. So this is what a brief introduction on how condition statements and looping statements work on PHP. Now we are going to get into a very important topic, how your PHP and HTML can go hand in hand. That is how they can work together in the same file. So whenever we create a PHP file, it is not mandatory that we need to have only PHP coding in it. We can have HTML coding also in it. So HTML, PHP, JavaScript, style, all four codings can be given in the same file itself. Only thing is that we need to mention our coding tags properly and we need to give an appropriate codings into that. So now let us create a simple file which contains HTML coding as well as PHP coding in the same file, and let us check how that output is being seen. So I'm just creating a table.php file. So I'm just creating a HTML tag. So within the HTML tag, we are going to have a simple table tag. So I'm going to declare a variable and we are going to see these things in a table. So now I have just created a HTML. So this is a HTML part, and at the top we have a PHP. So in PHP we have two different variables. Now we need to print that PHP variable in our HTML part. So this is what we call it as HTML with PHP or PHP with HTML. So they are going to intermix with one another. So now my name is with PHP variable. So I'm going to mention my PHP variable here. So in PHP, whenever we want to print, the statement we use is called echo. So this is what a PHP statement looks like, echo $name. So if we give like this, your Apache will not able to understand that whether this is PHP or HTML. We need to specify this PHP instruction inside the PHP tag. Only then it will be able to identify that this is a PHP. Otherwise, this will be also considered as a normal HTML content. So now let us declare another line called echo age. So in this echo age, in the line number 17, I have not given PHP tag. In this case, echo age will not be considered as a PHP code. It will be considered as a HTML content, and it will simply print echo age itself. It will not print the value 30, it will print the statement itself, considering it is a HTML content. But in line number 13, since we have given PHP tag, and inside PHP tag we have given instruction related to PHP, this will be executed, and here instead of name variable, the value Ashok will be printed. So this is how your Apache works with PHP and HTML in the same line. So not only HTML, we can also give style also in the same page. There is no restriction in it. So your Apache can handle all the PHP, HTML, and style and JavaScript in same page itself. There is no issue in that. So only thing is that we need to give everything properly. When it is a HTML, that must be given within HTML tag properly. When it is a PHP, it must be given in a PHP tag properly. And when it is a style, it must be given within a style tag properly. Otherwise, all other contents will be considered as only a HTML content, and that will be printed directly on the browser. So now let us check how this is being printed on our Chrome. So now you'll be able to see my Chrome. So this is how your PHP and HTML is being combined. So here, if you look properly, you can see in age you are not getting the age properly. You are getting the command itself because that is not given inside PHP tag. So that is not taken as PHP instruction. It is taken as HTML content and printed as it is. But in the name, we have given echo name in PHP tag, so that is considered as PHP instruction, and that is being operated properly. So this is how your PHP and HTML can go hand in hand in same file itself. Now let us just check how a database is being working in WAMP server. So in WAMP server, there is an application called phpMyAdmin. It is a inbuilt application in WAMP. It is also available in your XAMPP also, and the usage of this application is to have a visual representation of your database server. So whenever in your browser you give localhost phpMyAdmin, it will be opening a visual view of your database. So in your WAMP server itself, there will be a folder called data inside your MySQL. So this is the folder which is going to handle all your databases. So here I have almost some 100 plus database created. So every database is being represented as a new folder. And inside each folder, you will be having the data files. So these data files are nothing but the MySQL data files represented as a file system inside your WAMP server. This is also same for your XAMPP also. XAMPP also uses the same PHP MyAdmin. So now let us see how these files are being represented in your database. So this is a visual representation of your database using your PHP MyAdmin, and that can be viewed in your browser, any type of browser. So this we call it as a PHP MyAdmin. So in the left panel, we call it as a database panel, and the center part we call it as a data panel. So in your database panel, okay, before getting into the database, I have got a query from Shivam asking whether we can use Oracle instead of MySQL or MongoDB. Yes, it is purely possible. We can use Oracle as well as MongoDB or Postgres. All those database can be connected using your PHP. So reason why we are using MySQL for developmental reason here is that the MySQL coming with WAMP is lightweight and it is also open source. That is why we are using. But whenever we go for a enterprise application development, we will be definitely using only Oracle, because Oracle is the only database that can support a better huge data organization. So now let us get back into PHP MyAdmin. So this PHP MyAdmin is exclusively available in XAMPP as well as in WAMP. Your left panel is called as a database panel. You can see all your database in your left panel. So whenever you want to open your database, it is very simple. Just click particular database name, then you'll be able to see your tables in your data section. So all your management can be done using this viewing application itself. Whenever you open a table, you'll be having a view of your complete table. You can edit your contents also, and also you can have your structural change to your database in the structure tab. If you want to have any other column additionally, you can use this, or if you want to just rename the column also, you can rename it. You can drop the table, drop a column, everything can be done in a visual way. And now let us see how we can do it using PHP also. So in PHP there is something called MySQLi function. So MySQLi is nothing but it is a database connector like JDBC or ODBC. What does JDBC does is JDB is nothing but a Java database connector. It helps to connect Java applications to database. In same way, in PHP also we have a connector called as MySQLi connector. So MySQLi connector is nothing but it is a connector in PHP which is used to connect with databases. So how this connector works is that it is very simple. It needs only 4 information from you. Number one, where your database is running. If your database is running in your same machine, you can have it as localhost. Otherwise, you need to provide the IP address of the database. And another one is we need to give authentication information. So whenever there is a database, definitely there will be a authentication information using which you can access the database, namely your username and password. So that must be provided. Then we will be having to which database we need to connect. Because as we have seen in our Chrome, in one database server, there are more than one databases. So we need to mention the database server information as well as the database also. So it will connect to that particular IP address and it will connect to that particular database using the username password you have given. So using this, MySQLi connect is a inbuilt function in PHP which connects to the database, and that connection must be stored in one particular variable. So using this variable, we will be connecting to our database to execute all our SQL operations. So your SQL operation can be including all your CURD operation as well as your structural operation. So when I say CURD, it is nothing but your create, retrieve, that is your select, update, delete, drop, alter, whatever it is, everything is possible using this MySQLite Connect. So MySQLite Connect is responsible for connecting to database, and there is a query called MySQLite query that is responsible for executing the query. So this is responsible for connecting, and there is another important SQL command called SQL query, and this is very important. Using this command, we will be executing our queries. So we will be storing our SQL commands, SQL queries in a variable, and using this MySQL query function, inbuilt function, we will be executing those queries on the connection. So your PHP requires minimum two functions to do a database operation. Number one, you need to connect, and number two, you need to execute the query using that connection. So this is how your PHP connects with your database. So whenever you are doing two different operation in SQL, one is either you will be providing data to a database, sometimes you will be retrieving or receiving data from your database. Whenever you are providing your data to database, this is enough. But whenever you are retrieving your data, you need to have your variable to collect the data. So the return rows will be stored in this particular variable. It is not that we need to always name it as RS or something like that. I just given RS. Whatever name we need, we can give it. So the return thing will be based on a array. So your SQL statement will collect n number of rows from your database, and all the rows will be stored as a array in this RS. So using that array, we will be iterating through the array and will be reading each one row by row. So this is how your PHP will be connecting to your database. So this is how your PHP works with all its friends. So as we discussed earlier, PHP has some set of friends. Only with those help of the friends, it will be able to create a web application. So your PHP cannot create a complete web application standalone. It needs the support of this. Not only PHP, any server side programming. It can be either Python, it can be either Java server pages, it can be ASP.NET, whatever it is. They need the help of these friends to complete their web application, because these server side programs can only be executed inside the Apache. They do not have any control over the browser. So for designing part, we'll be requiring all this thing, and for storage, we'll be requiring the database. So this is what our today's workshop is all about. So now let us see how we can complete our learning curve in PHP. So what are the things we'll be requiring to learn a PHP? So now let us see what is those things. Fine. So to learn PHP, we need to have at least some basic understanding about HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Why in the sense? Because we need to have some design part knowledge so that we can create our PHP application more viewable. And next to one, there is something called core PHP. Core PHP is very important because in later stage we are going to learn about frameworks. I will just give a brief about framework. So core PHP is nothing but the actual PHP. We need to have a strong knowledge on actual PHP. Then we need to have the understanding about MySQL concepts, that is your SQL queries, because only with the proper understanding of MySQL queries you will be able to handle the data properly. And we need to understand how PHP and MySQL can work together more efficiently, because you need to create queries, and also we need to have a find a way how we can efficiently use those queries with PHP to reduce the execution time or to get proper reports. And at last, we have something called frameworks. So in earlier stages, while we are discussing about fronts of PHP, saw something called as Ajax and Bootstrap. When we discussed about Ajax and jQuery, I told they are all frameworks of JavaScript and CSS. Like that, PHP also has its own frameworks. So frameworks are nothing but they are all developmental kits developed on basis of core PHP. For example, in core PHP, if you are going to write some application module which is requiring some 100 lines, your frameworks will be having already those commands in single function so that we can just call that function and complete our work. So frameworks are nothing but a simplified version of PHP built on core PHP. So without understanding core PHP, we cannot use frameworks. So frameworks are used to simplify your web development. For example, in your core PHP, if you are going to develop your login module, your frameworks will already have a login module. So you can directly use it. So instead of developing a new module, you can directly use from frameworks. So that is what your frameworks help and reduces your development time. But core PHP is very important to understand the other topics. So to support that in MJIT, what we are doing is that we have separated PHP courses into three different sections. One is we are having a web designing section. So designing section is nothing but it deals completely with designing part. It deals completely with HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and their frameworks like jQuery, Ajax, and Bootstrap. So it is completely a design oriented course. And we also have a server oriented course called PHP server side development. So server side development does not deals with designing. It completely work with core PHP and MySQL. And the third course is a combination of both. So it is a complete web development and design course. There will be dealing with both design part as well as the development part. So that will be a complete PHP course. So the course details can be shared with you by Hiran late in later sessions. So now we will wind up our workshop. Now let us open the session for your queries. So if you have any queries, you can just throw it now. So now if you have any queries on this workshop or general queries related to PHP, now you can go for it. So do you have any questions in PHP part? So not only topics discussed today, if you have any other general queries on PHP also, we can discuss now. So any doubts we have so that we can have a discussion on that. So we'll wait for another couple of minutes. So is there so let us check whether anyone is having any doubts. So let us consider. So there are no other queries we have to discuss today. So let us wind up our session. So we'll be sharing a feedback link with you later. So please try to fill the feedback, and we'll also share you the course details to your submitted email ID. So after giving the feedback, you can follow those courses. And if you have any doubts, you can have a follow up with our HRB. So thank you everyone. So your feedback link will be shared very soon. And also please try to access our website mjit.in. So future events, all the events related to other courses also will be updated there. So please try to join in other events also. It will be very useful. So mostly all weekends will be having some free workshops along with that. So regarding certificate, after you are submitting your feedback, your certificates will be shared with you. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining our session. We'll be expecting you all in our future sessions also. Thank you everyone very much.